back, everybody, after the summer. After we just go through a couple of minutes, we have just some things we have to do with the board for 2 minutes. We'd like you just to, since we have some people who haven't been at the board, will just get up and introduce yourself so everybody knows you. Everyone does, but we want to just do it that way. First thing before we get started, Fran Shapiro has resigned from the board due to the fact that she's moving. So I asked the board to put Zoe on to replace Fran Shapiro. So people.
We have a motion.
I said that.
The motion accept?
I said Fran's resignation and then a motion to appoint.
Okay.
I motion to accept.
Okay. I motion to appoint.
So that's all.
Second?
Second. Okay. So, welcome to the board, Zoe.
Sure?
Yeah.
You sure now? Okay, so let's just go around first and then we'll start the meeting. Just introduce yourselves if people haven't been here at the meeting, and then we'll start the meeting. Pat, you can start.
Al and Jerry Eisen.
I'm Mark Sagel.
I'm Cindy Bromberg. My husband in the green shirt is Charles.
Paula Greenberg.
And Al Delarusso.
Ken Schaefer.
Connie Schaefer.
Wait, some people in the back.
Nancy Schaefer.
Huh?
Nancy Schaefer.
Nancy.
Sure.
Can you see?
Continue.
I'm the Charlotte.
Ben Glazer.
Beverly Blum.
Michael Block.
Steve?
Steve Cohen.
Patrick Kurtfeld.
And the Greenfields in the back.
I didn't know there were Ellen and Jeff Greenfield.
Okay. Someone approve the minutes from last month, please? All right, let's talk financial report, please.
Okay, so currently in our operating cash account, we have $39,930.97. In our reserve accounts, we have $30,756.38 for a total of $70,687.37. Alright, I mean, things are running aside from increased legal expenses and our ongoing struggles with irrigation. We're functioning pretty well with everything else, still operating in the black.
What are
So
our
I'm happy.
legal expenses?
Legal expenses so far, and this may not be with the current bill, by almost $9,000. We anticipated.
Second financial.
That's it. I mean, the rest is like all normal, and for some things we're ahead of the game. So fortunately, like I said, we're operating in decent territory. Okay?
All right, well, do you want to talk about the AOB, so you want to carry it in?
Well,
Okay.
what's the order?
Let's-
Okay. Okay, so why don't you start, and if I have to
Then you-
interject and
then-
give my
Right.
opinions, I will.
Okay.
Or if I can answer any questions, I will.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure everybody had on record that, the association is responsible according to the documents to make sure that, all the houses are maintained properly according to, the specifications that are in the documents. And that's why board members and management, do regular inspections of the property. That's why people are required to fill out ARBs, there are insurance issues with vendors coming onto the property, so all that stuff has to be, filed properly with the management company. The board has to approve it. It's both the sub-association documents and the master association documents. So in order to be in compliance and do things properly, that is the duty of everyone sitting here, is to make sure that the documents are followed and that, everything is looked at and made sure that everything is done correctly.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on the ARB and the process of how to do work in your home and how we approve it and how we don't?
I have to take my awning down for the hurricane.
So technically, you do.
do what?
You
You're
should
my question.
advise and let us know that you were doing it, but it's the responsible thing to do, so we're not gonna penalize you for it.
If you
should
need to,
make us
if you
aware.
wanted to replace it with something different,
Yes.
are you
Then
putting
you
up the
would
same
do.
one, or are you getting something
No,
new?
I'm getting a new one.
Then you would need an
Then you would
ARB.
need
Then
an
you need an
ARB.
ARB.
Where do I get this?
I can email it to you.
Would you please?
Absolutely.
Even if it's in the courtyard,
Yes.
within?
Anything on the outside of your property, everything that's not air conditioned on your property needs an ARB.
If you look at your documents, it says very clearly on it, and more importantly, on the Master Association documents, it says that any lot and the exterior part of your lot must have a written ARB, and whatever work you get done must be approved.
Well, I took the awning down to the hurricane.
And we
Well,
thank you.
understand that, that's fine.
I
That's
have to put a
okay.
new one up.
Yeah,
Right.
that will need a.
My question is to the
I'll
internal,
go, I'll
Oh,
consider.
that's the,
my question is to the internal part of your house.
AC, air
Inside-
conditioned, none of
Inside the
business.
house, the person does not have to be insured, they don't have to have a license. It's the homeowner's responsibility for the insurance
Well, no,
of
we don't
anyone
have-
that comes interiorly to your house to repair something. Is that correct?
It says exterior,
So we're not telling you what,
so we're not telling you to, who has to be on your property and who
Right.
cannot be on your property
for
Right.
the inside.
for the inside.
Okay, that's.
And it should fall, God forbid, anybody's working on your property, inside of your property, air-conditioned space, anybody's working in it. And God forbid, they should come out with their car and hit somebody else's car or whatever, it will fall on, that's where insurances are a problem, but then it's gonna fall upon yours.
Right, but you're ultimately responsible for any vendors, guests, contractors.
That's in
working.
our,
Yes.
that's in your documents that you all
But that would
signed
be
when you
anyone,
moved
that would
here.
be a
Of
guest,
course,
you know.
of course.
I just want to warn you all, as long as so many people are here, because I've had this experience. There's a company that calls to do window cleaning. And if you ask if they have insurance, if their people are insured, they say yes. Well, it's not really true. The people are supposed to have their own insurance. Years ago, I hired them. The guy came out, he used a lousy ladder, his own. He fell from the top of the ladder, broke his leg badly, and the only reason I didn't have any issue with him was because he had asked me in a letter to lie about the conditions outside. And once any lawyer saw that letter, they weren't going to handle his case. I don't know what happened. I feel terrible, but the point is, if they say they have insurance, make sure. Don't, because they may just be self-insured, and if they're up on a ladder and they fall and they really don't, it's your homeowner's policy that's going to be in trouble. So,
yes, Ken?
Just as a note on what you just said, your homeowner's policy will not
Thank you.
reimburse you if you use unlicensed people to do work in your house.
That's a possibility,
And
yeah.
particularly, let's say, in a plumbing situation, if you have a person come in and put a new hot water heater in, like I just did, the insurance, your homeowner's insurance company is gonna ask for their license, and they want an image of their license before they will insure against any problem with that hot water heater. So, just getting people off the street is not the way to do it. You gotta get licensed people who have insurance.
and so do you know
So,
Good.
basically, the ARB, that's what we do, and that's how it goes,
Right.
and then that's what you want to say.
Well, that's, I'm good for that place.
Okay.
All right, so, let's talk about landscaping in contract. All right, so the board has decided, that the landscaper we had is not doing his proper job. So therefore, we've got the quotes, and, the board has in front of them, and we can decide who we're gonna use. We think we found a gentleman who's able to do a good job, and, we've went over everything, and it's gonna be, throughout the whole year, so, let's take a vote on it, please. Yeah.
So, no, we have to vote on
There's
it.
no- nothing to vote on.
But just so, because I know a lot of people are concerned and a lot of people are upset, including myself, on the landscaping, you know, they're not doing, Cheryl is also very upset, and we all are.
Yeah.
They're not weeding,
Yeah.
they're not pruning, and then they're butchering.
Right.
So, they don't even know how to do
Like the tree.
Yes, like for instance, she had beautiful top areas before, and now they're like just a bush. So they are not doing their job to what we thought and expected from them and what they described. Now, that being said, we have a particular little situation with our little neighborhood. Our neighborhood is considered a commercial job, but none of our homes are considered a commercial job. We all have very different landscapings in our home. We have very individual situations. Everybody's courtyard is different. Everybody's palms are different. Everything's different. Not one home is exactly the same as the other. So when you do commercial landscaping, it's cut, mow, cut, and blow. That's all they do. Yeah, and then if you expect and ask for more, it becomes a manicured or a customed or catered to the home. To maintain what the original agreement was with the homeowners of being included in the landscaping, it's gonna take a lot more than just a large commercial company. It's gonna take someone who's gonna be a little bit more attention to detail, have a little more attention to detail to the home, and it's also gonna take a little help from you all. It has to be a community situation where you just don't expect them to come in and take care of everything as if you were hiring them independently. You have to remember and take into consideration the fact that they're being paid from the money that you pay in your dues, so it's not really a catered and a specific tailored landscaping.
They're not your private.
Correct. So that being said, that doesn't mean we're not trying to accommodate that. I just don't think a commercial, large company is going to even entertain that. That being said, right now, the quotes that I'm getting and the one person that we think we may be interested in going with, the company we're interested in going with, will cater a little bit more to us and to our individualities and to our things.
And we're willing
So-
to have them here more often.
And I'm trying to get them to do, I don't even want to say it because you'll all attack if it doesn't happen.
You don't.
So I'm trying to get them to come more often, because if you notice, it doesn't look good when you don't do it. And it looks good the first cut, and then a week later, you're like, oh, not nice. And then 10 days later, you look at it and it looks like it's shot and weeds are all over and blowing everywhere. It cannot be that way. It has to be a weekly situation.
Well,
My only concern is, can you make sure that the new people have someone who speaks English?
No,
No, they do not.
no, I'm saying you can't make sure that that
Well,
happens.
I can't communicate.
Because we can be actually sued for that.
What?
That's a federal offense.
If
That's
you have a problem, you
discrimination.
can call me and then we'll, or,
What
and
do you
then
mean?
we'll
No, wait,
relate it.
if there's a bush that I want the guy to cut, I can't call you.
What?
Yeah, you have to.
Actually, you
can.
must call.
Yeah.
Fran-
Sure you
This
can.
is the other thing I wanted to touch base with. Anything that has to do with with the property or the development, we have a management company, and that's who should be getting all the phone calls.
Mhm.
You
And
can't ask if they speak English?
You're not.
you can't say that. I'm
I
with
don't know
you.
why. Would you hire someone who doesn't speak English?
Because you want, because everybody here wants special catering. If you want English with special catering, we're gonna have to like pay through the nose,
well, you hired them.
or hire somebody independently, like you, we only could do the best we can with 42 homes, and somebody's not gonna like it. That's all I could say.
Well.
It's rough, but it's the truth. It's very difficult. Landscaping is not so easy. Everybody thinks it's like, just get somebody here to cut the grass. It's not that easy.
Let me read from the documents, page 22 of 34 from the documents. 12.12 is landscaping.
Okay.
The landscaping of the association, including without limitation the trees, shrubs, lawns, flower beds, walkways, and ground elevations, shall be maintained by the association in accordance with this declaration as originally installed by the developer.
Correct.
That's the key.
That's a key word.
Key phrase. Unless prior approval for any substantial change is obtained.
Correct.
Several homes were model homes, and the developer installed plants. These plants, according to the document, are to be maintained by the association.
Correct.
At the current time, my neighbor and I have maintained it. We have paid. We're not asking for reimbursement. We're glad to make our property look the way it should look. But I think that any landscaper should include that which the documents say. And this is controversial. I would not disapprove of an increase in our maintenance if it would mean we would get first-class landscaping. Because I think the value of a neighborhood is landscaping. And we have the prettiest street in the development. If you make it optional for people to cut trees or shrubs, some people will and some people won't. And in the long run, you'll spend more on enforcement than you would by maintaining the community. So I think that any landscaper ought to be told specifically what they do and what's included, and the board should approve the best landscaper, not necessarily the least expensive landscaper.
Okay. That's a very good suggestion. The only thing to that whole document is when these documents were put in and our property was developed, what was there was hedges that were like 5
But
footers.
that's still in the documents.
No, I understand that, and I'm not fighting you on that point. I'm just saying that if you and your neighbor or anybody chose to say that hedge was a 5-foot hedge, but now I want it to be a 20-foot hedge, which a ficus will grow to that. Now how fair is that to every other homeowner? If they don't have it.
Okay, extra for that.
Do you know what I'm saying? So we have to be fair, so that's why I'm trying to find somebody who's gonna manicure and cater to the diversity of our neighborhood and to the homes that have such particular courtyards, backyard sides, and et cetera. Because some of those hedges were implemented versus having a fence by the developers. Because we're all zero lot, but some of them don't have a partition wall, and some of them don't have a fence, they have hedges. So that's where it comes into play.
Yep. But I'm saying, these are the rules of the association.
Correct?
Well,
And if we enforce rules, the board ought to be responsible
Yes.
to maintain the rules.
It does say it. I'm gonna, if you give me 2 seconds, I don't wanna rebuttal you. No, it's in the beginning. It's in, maintenance. I don't wanna, I'm trying to do what you're recommending,
I appreciate it.
okay? But it also does say in maintenance, page 16, maintenance of living units, that the owner has ultimately
Not
this page is before that
originally,
one.
no. There are 2 levels. One is the developer's plannings,
Correct, okay.
and one is individual plannings. Now, I have some plannings that we have done or were subsequently done.
Okay.
They're my responsibility. But that which was developed by the developer is the community's responsibility.
So it does say.
According to the
It
documents.
does say, and this is an original, this was in the original documents, it does say improvements at the time of their initial construction, except for where the owner of each living unit shall repair and replace at his own expense all portions of his residence, including landscaping, trees, shrubs, lawn, and flower beds on the owner's property.
right.
So I'm just saying that if we want to go into the whole thing, we're not gonna get anywhere. I'm trying to-
I don't want to spend time on this,
Okay,
but I did speak to the attorney who originally drafted the documents, and
Okay.
he said, my interpretation is correct.
Okay.
But that's
But that's his
neither here nor there, but I'll pass on it.
No, I don't, it's not that I want you to pass, I don't want you to
No, I
pass.
want
I
other
just-
people to
I
say
just
what.
want you to understand that we're not dismissing it, and we're not working with the current landscaper, because he says, I will cut 10-foot trees, or 10-foot, I don't touch 10-foot trees or 10-foot bushes. He literally meant, anything that's already 10 feet, I don't touch it, or higher. So that's like a hedge.
And he wasn't doing
You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't doing weeds, and he wasn't doing anything, so I'm with you
I agree.
on trying to improve the situation, because it sucks.
But the
We have-
remember,
we have
some
another
people there,
Stand up.
Yeah, I know, but it's-
Oh, we have another question.
That has to be an effort.
Hi, aren't there times when we have our gardeners and you pay them to do something a little extra?
Yeah.
Is that a negative thing? That's a
No.
positive thing.
Correct.
Now, as far as Spanish is concerned, they try to help, and it's not that hard to communicate with them. I mean, there's some basic things, and we shouldn't make a big deal. These are people that do the work that we want them to do, and I don't think it's a big deal. I don't know about you, with your special bushes, I don't know anything about that. But if they need to be done, you speak to the person, just like a human being,
right.
and they do good work when you ask them nicely.
Thank you.
Howard,
Yes, Ken.
I'd just like to get back to ground zero, literally. The worst thing we have right now is the lawns.
I don't disagree.
Those have been allowed to become super, super weedy. And it's not the way it has been for the 12 years that I've lived here. That is something that has been allowed to escape from the grip of the landscapers. And the landscaper that I spoke to yesterday said, right now, we are at a point of no return. There is 60% grass and 40% weeds on our property. And if it goes to 50-50, it's goodbye grass.
Ken,
You will not be able to recover
Ken,
it.
we understand that.
Well, I want everybody to
Yeah, well,
But
understand
people
it.
don't know
Because-
that maybe.
Because everybody has to get out and look at their own grass. Because we can't have some guy come in here with,
Weed whacker.
no, not with weed whackers, with something to dig up all the grass in the whole neighborhood. Somebody's gotta pay attention to the grass.
Okay, so that's the
Otherwise,
problem.
it's gonna leave
So
us.
the problem with weeds is that, unfortunately, if you have it, it's like a mold. Your next door neighbor's gonna get it. And if they cut your grass with the same mower, it's gonna go, blades and et cetera, it's gonna go to the next. I'm on my second batch of grass. I've lived here since 2015? 2017. I'm on my second batch of grass. I've ripped it out and started fresh because of that. First, it happened with Dave being our landscaper that everybody loved, right? I got weeds, I took it out. I went to my second one with this new guy, I took it out. That's one of my biggest frustrations is new grass and I have it. Shouldn't have it. And half the time I have my own landscaper cutting my grass. I bring in my own landscaper. I bring in my own landscaper to cater to my back, to do my house, because I'm a neat freak, and if it's not gonna be up to par, I'm not gonna wait for it to be up to par. But that's my choice. It shouldn't be a demand for you, right? So, right? It should be in our, they should do better
That's one
work.
of the main reasons we're changing.
I don't disagree.
That's what bothers me the most. if that makes sense.
She's furious about the work.
That's what really, that was it for me. And then that tree between us, that was it.
How they butchered your fight.
Oh.
The
That
Eureka.
was bad. So that was it.
Yes,
I didn't even complain about that.
you're so nice. Thank
We,
you.
you mentioned Dave, and forget about this fast guy. Dave, I think a lot of us thought, okay, you're doing a pretty good job. So as a base, to set a base, okay, what are you looking at for this new person to do that would be different than
So
what
Dave
Dave didn't
catered-
do or whatever.
Okay, so Dave catered to some homes and forgot the whole development.
Yes, he did not, he left.
didn't do-
Okay, so
Mess.
if you go look at all of our common areas, they're a disgrace.
They were.
And we have gotten it to a place where it's getting better. If you look at homes that live on the back of the golf courses, it's a zoo,
It is.
okay? It looks like Tarzan's gonna come out any
Well,
moment,
that's another question,
okay?
because is that our responsibility or is that the golf course's responsibility?
Huh?
We're figuring that
We're
out.
trying to figure that out.
I mean, we did a lot of work and all we have is brown.
It's
problems
disgusting, it's
to
terrible.
look at.
Well, most properties,
So-
as a person who's done developing and stuff like that, I don't do it anymore. And construction, and don't do it anymore. I'm here volunteering for free. I will tell you that most homes that are developed on a golf course are not intended with that. Right? If you go to any golf course, you go to La Quinta in California, you go in New Jersey, you go in, right here in Florida, they're open to the golf courses. So this is a particular little situation, so we're trying not to rock the boat with the club, because
But
if,
it's probably theirs, but we're thinking.
It's probably
but we
theirs.
wanna
Oh, it
make
is
sure.
theirs. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay, so
the
if
ones
you're
that we're
saying it's-
looking at
okay, so
are
if you,
theirs.
so if you say it's theirs and
We
you
know it's-
wanna maintain it, they're not gonna kill you for it, but if you don't
I
want.
can't, we can't get up
Okay, but
20
if you
feet
wanna
high.
get rid of that, if you wanna make a complaint with the club, be at the risk that they may rip it out, and then you'll have nothing.
That's good. These are 50, 100-foot palm trees, they're not gonna rip out.
Yes, they will.
They said that.
They have warned us and they have told us that if we wanna start trouble, they will rip it all in.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I don't touch it and I'm not dealing with it, because I don't want you to lose your privacy and be upset at the board. So I don't know how to handle that one.
And by the way, why Lola knows so much, the board has appointed her as charge of landscaping, so, and she knows.
I'm ready to quit.
We really.
I'm gonna tell you something, El Dorado has been one heck of an experience for me.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes.
I noticed last year when you hired Biz Landscaping, he cut way more trees. We have trees right in the front of our home that would be community trees, and they didn't get cut this year. I'm curious about that.
Okay, so we did that as a gratuity and as a courtesy to the development, because we had funds, and we said, you know, this year, we can go and do hurricane trimming, let's get him to go and do the majority of the trees. And the ones that were in the courtyards, he actually, our management set up a note and said, call us if you want to have anything done. And then he went and knocked on the doors, and the owners did it, and et cetera, and that was a courtesy. That's not our responsibility. This year, unfortunately, we have to be more respectful of our funds, because we are in a legal matter, and we don't know what's gonna happen. And it would be extremely irresponsible for us to just be frugal. We gotta be frugal, right? It would be disrespectful not to be.
And also the trees are not the community trees.
They're not community trees.
That's
Now,
why they
if a tree's
weren't
on your
fenced.
front lawn and on your property, it's yours, but you know that, right?
No, she said they were community trees.
Oh, I thought they were community.
Oh, no.
No.
Are very close to the street.
Right.
They're
You
all
don't,
yours.
there's no sidewalk, so the property line goes right to the edge.
Okay.
And the city owns, I believe, they call it 2 inches or 2 feet for easement, but not for maintenance.
So
Did
that
that
leads
help?
us into the next thing that says.
We tried.
that we did the tree
Yes.
trimming. So everybody, tree trimming.
Yeah, he did
We
a good
approve
job.
on there.
Do you like how he trimmed? If you go and take a walk, you to go to the back.
Mhm.
He did, I think, a pretty good job in the park and cleaning up and in the
He did a
ficuses.
very
Yeah.
good job,
Yeah.
yes, I agree.
Very nice.
Do we notice it?
Yes.
Good.
It hasn't looked like that since
And now we're trying to get even like more of the driveway, more of when you enter and exit from the drive. You know, I take pride in my home, and I believe we all do, right? So when I drive in or somebody's coming to visit me, I would like them to drive into a neighborhood that looks beautiful and that, you know, the common areas are nice. And it was getting unruly. You have, I'm sure you notice in your own homes, you have ficuses that are mixed in with asparagus plants and palms, and it's just a big mishmash of landscaping. It's not supposed to be there. It was never supposed to be allowed to get to that point. A good landscaper does not allow that to happen. That's my goal, separation of landscaping. If I could get him to do it little by little in your homes, that's my goal.
There was somebody, and the landscaping, I go for a walk every day. And
That's for everyone.
And there was no, grass there for a while, and dirt was going in a driveway. It was really terrible.
Okay, when?
Where?
On the turn.
On the-
Up at the hill, at the
No.
double lot?
262.
Yeah.
And now they, and
Oh, blooms. They were doing work and then they had a break with the pipe, they had a leak in their home that they couldn't find. So they had to dig up a very large portion of their home to get that, they had to get a forensic plumber to come and figure out where that leak was coming from. In the middle of them just moving in, they sold their home in New Jersey. They didn't expect the transition to be so fast, and then they moved into a home that they were hoping to be able to fix and then move in, and now it's just everything at once for them. So if we could be a little patient, we try to be patient with everybody in the neighborhood, but that's what happened to them. They're here, they're the blooms.
So the grass was finished, and now they're gonna, is that what you're asking?
And then she'll do the landscape after, because you have to paint first and then do landscaping.
And
Okay.
it's all
And she
scheduled. It's all
filled,
scheduled.
she filled her ARV and she scheduled everything, and thank God, everybody's insured and they're always good to go.
Okay. Before I open up the floor, I need, no. As president of this board, I am very upset what's happening in El Dorado. This is the first time that we have had an incident in 20 years in El Dorado. What happens in someone's house is no one else's business. People should not be sending letters out derogatory about different people in El Dorado. We're supposed to be a family. We're supposed to be having fun here. I mean, Zoe's on board now. We had a great neighborhood party. That's what it should be. All right? What the attack on Lowell was totally wrong. And if you look in our declaration, Articles 9.2, it states that a board member can go behind someone's house to make sure everything is fine. It says in our articles. I am appalled what happened here. This poor girl is working very hard and trying to get everything good in El Dorado, and she's being attacked for no reason at all.
Police should never come to my house to have to tell me that they want to
Police
get me
should
arrested.
never come and
In front
arrest
of my
her
children.
in front of her children. That is totally embarrassing and not
Not
accepted in El Dorado. And undeserved, totally undeserved, really. All right? And you always see the letter back concerning this. So, and now we're in a legal battle, so that's all I'm saying at all. But if you read, the declaration states that any board member can go behind people's house. It's in black and white. So I don't want this ever occurring again. If you don't like what's happening in El Dorado, please move out of El Dorado. All right? This is not gonna happen again. I don't like this at all. You know,
None of us do.
none of us do, and there's no reason to attack someone on the board or anybody else who's not on the board. No one should be attacked in El Dorado. No one.
All right, thank you.
That's all I have to say about that. Let's open up to the floor, please. Steve, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, I just have a question, because
Sure.
from what I understand, the amount of parking spaces that a place has, for example, if you have a house that has 3 legal parking spaces, you're allowed 3 vehicles.
Right.
Is that correct? You're not allowed to have
It
4.
doesn't say minimum.
It doesn't say number
Doesn't
of
say?
cars.
So
And
you
the
can have, you
documents-
can have
20.
2 parking spots and
And
have
20
10
cars.
cars.
Okay, go ahead.
If they fit in the garage, they have to go into the garage.
No,
Well,
Garage or
on the
driveway. Garage or
Into the
driveway.
Okay.
That's
so
really
there's only-
technically the amount of cars you have,
Okay,
which
that
you're
was
parking
not- that was
somewhere
my
else.
question.
So,
And, right,
Yeah.
and if you have a guest, you have to notify us that you're gonna have it on the street, the security, and let them know that you're having a guest and you're gonna be on the street.
maybe people weren't here for the board meeting, but, we had all agreed on parking, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
We had passed that there would be no overnight parking and so forth, so we're just hoping that everybody can.
Right. We
When the
wanted
houses were first made, the
Yeah.
garages were intended for much smaller vehicles,
more
right?
vehicles.
So it's a little bit harder now
Right.
with the larger vehicles, most cars, like if you have an SUV and a motorcycle, you could do it, but if you have an SUV and a sedan, you can't.
We ask
very
everybody to try to
difficult.
put into the garage or on the driveway as possible. You know, you have to really.
I just have one other quick
Sure.
statement, and then we're gonna move
Yeah,
on.
no,
Okay.
As you may or may not know, 2 years ago, there was a major event in our development regarding my co-owning of 2 animals, 2 dogs, 2 wonderful dogs. And there's a lot of miscommunication that had occurred over the last 2 years, things that were said that probably shouldn't have been said. I was not legally able to say anything. So at this time, I'm not gonna say anything publicly, but if anyone has any questions regarding the animals that reside in my home, I'll be more than happy to talk to them privately, or they can go online and read all the legal documents, which clearly show exactly what happened.
Thank you, Steve.
One more thing.
What? Okay. You have a
Every
question?
day.
There's no one who has to stand up.
Every day,
You
there's a car parked on the street with a yellow sticker on it.
Yes.
Every day. Does that mean, does it make a difference, do what you want, yellow sticker gets thrown away?
Well, did you ever hear about the kid that you tell him, don't go to the refrigerator without permission? And the kid just keeps going to the refrigerator without permission?
When do you tell the cars?
We don't have, we can't
we-
ticket them.
No, but the board is thinking about setting up where we'll be pulling cars away. We're gonna-
That we could do.
Okay,
Why can't
if
you
that-
just set up,
One second.
set up, what do you call it,
What?
penalties? You get X dollars the first time, X more the
We
second.
have, we have to have a fining
We have
committee,
the
it goes
fining
into a
committee.
whole big whole production.
Yeah.
And
We're not
then,
set up.
at the end of the day, legal fees again.
Right. We're thinking about definitely.
Anybody want more
Yes.
legal fees?
Oh, if you
Yeah.
do
I want
that, and I'm
flowers.
not against towing the car away if they go against the law.
Right.
However, what happened to us,
Yes.
we had 2 cars, and Paula called everyone she could, got approval, everyone knew it. Next day, there was warnings on the car.
Did you let the security?
Yes.
Yes, I'm telling you, we called everybody.
We
We
did.
called Howie,
And
probably.
I spoke to you.
Sometimes it does
So-
happen that
But
they
if,
put it
if you're
on
gonna
the-
tow a car,
Yeah.
Then make sure that don't happen.
make sure they're communicating.
I don't think that
They did
anybody
not
would,
communicate.
we would never resort to that unless it was a recurrent thing.
Yeah,
We just
I
can't
agree,
get-
but,
no, we're gonna.
but there
warn
are
them.
some that take advantage of it.
Right.
Right.
No, you're
That's
right.
different.
Yes, and we know.
That's a friend.
Right, yes,
So my question is, if you have, say, 4 cars,
right.
and you only have space for 3 cars, because, say, half of the garage is floor to ceiling,
Boxes,
Right.
stuff,
yeah.
and every night, the homeowner parks in a different place of the community,
Not right.
is that okay?
No, but we can't, other developments not a problem.
No, I think she means on El Dorado, we
You
mean?
mean out throughout?
No, in,
Oh, yeah, we only did something about El Dorado.
I thought you meant on their street. No,
Oh, other neighborhoods, they have to do that.
so other neighborhoods have to be.
We have no control over that.
Correct. But you know what it is, honestly, at the end of the day, you gotta find a way of making this okay, because
Right.
unfortunately, it's not about, I have 2 cars, so it's not my problem. I hear if we're multifamily home, and there's more than just 2 people living in the home and et cetera, it becomes a concern. But then the problem also is that we live in a neighborhood that has no sidewalk. It's not wide enough.
Right.
And it's just, we've never had a problem in an accident, but also you have to, no, knock on wood, but it also has been, what, how long is this? I'm doing 20, 30 years, how long are you all here? So let's say
But
20,
she's
30
right.
So let's say it's like 30 years.
We have never
There was
had,
1 car maybe by
Very lucky.
family.
we've been very lucky, we're very lucky that we have got nothing that's happened here, but it only takes
Okay.
one time that an ambulance or a fire truck can't get down the street.
But that's not even it, that's not even
No,
it.
it
It's-
is.
You're gonna end up,
It is it.
but they're gonna end up crashing into each other. The cars are getting bigger, and the quantity is getting greater. This is America. So therefore, like if you have like I have 4 kids, I have this car that's like ridiculously big. My mother had 5 kids, we were all in a small car, but for some reason I can't do it. So I'm in this big SUV. If there's a car behind me, another one over there, another one over there, and then there's a car next to me, this is why I asked for permission, I got my ARB and I did my driveway. This is why I did that, because I can't get out, and I didn't want my daughter getting a sticker every night on her car. So I went and I ended up widening my driveway. So.
Me too,
That-
yeah.
that's what
exactly.
it is. So, okay, anything else? Anybody
Yeah,
else?
so unfortunately, it's hard.
Well, I would just add to that conversation, if you see a vendor that has
Yes.
pulled up second to another car,
Or
and
across
they're
the
Yeah.
they're
street from
right
another
across
car.
from each
Happens
other.
all the
Happens
time.
to
All the
me.
time.
You know
All the
an
time.
ambulance
Every
or
day.
a
Tell them
fire
to-
It
engine.
happens to me, people park in my house,
Yeah.
and I keep telling them to try to park on the other side.
That's why we're all catching the
It happens to me with Ben, because he parks on his side of the street, which is the side that I believe we said everybody's supposed to park on.
No, that was never.
We haven't improved.
Oh, was it improved?
No,
It was
right.
a
No, but no
question.
parking,
Ah.
no parking on the road.
Okay, so
You've got to pay
we may
yourself
wanna
off.
think about
Well,
that.
the reason why you did it was because of how do you actually implement penalty, the same problem with double, cause, so
But
that
to
was why it
finish
was
my
raised.
point, if
You
you see
consider it.
it, and you can say something to the vendor,
I
move
try telling
up a
everybody in my
couple of
house,
feet,
but
move
sometimes
back
I
a
can't.
couple of feet, do it, because
So
we don't want anybody here to have a situation because the ambulance or the fire truck couldn't get to them.
All right, yes, thank
Thank you.
Even the mailman.
So just try to keep the vendors on one side if we can. All right, anybody else have any questions?
Okay.
All right,
Wait, property manager?
Robert managers, got anything? No?
Okay, no, we're
Okay,
good.
so, somebody second the motion again?
I second
Okay, thank you all for coming.
I wanted to say one thing, I'm sorry, it was off the minutes. I wanted to say to everybody who reached out to me on an anonymous letter that went out, cowardly anonymous letter about my personal life, my husband's personal things, what happens in my home. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and so does my family, for being so kind and so receptive to me and knowing the quality of character that I have and who I am, and not judged by some coward letter. Thank you.
Right, yeah. Yes, very good.